Welcome back to Mondays with Mike. We have Lee here today. We're very privileged. We're also privileged to have Annette Holmgren from New York City sister KW office. Hey, Annette.
Hey, Mike.
I think you're on the island today, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
I'm on the beautiful island that is long. Yes.
So, but that's very appropriate because we're going to continue last week's topic, just talking about where people have moved to. COVID has impacted a lot of people's living situation. We're trying to dig down and figure out, where did people from New York City move to, and how long are they staying? Is this a permanent type of shift, or is this a longer term shift? Or can we expect that now that schools are reopening slowly and in phases, and life is somewhat getting back to normal, what can we expect? So I guess maybe why don't we kick off with just, where have anybody who's left New York City for the most part, like, where are most people off to?
So according to all the mom groups, a lot of people have actually fled to Florida, believe it or not.
Yep.
All over Florida. And the other people have fled to either where their parents are and they're buying or renting houses close by. We were in the Midwest this summer. They had a lot of New Yorkers there because you get more value for your money out there. People are taking advantage of the situation, and just going wherever they can, or to just explore for the time being,
Right. So do you feel like most of these moves are still pretty temporary?
I think a lot of them are. I think a lot of people want to come back to the New York they knew and know. It's definitely different. So I think, for the time being, not being confined to such a small area and showing their kids different parts of the world and the country are really appealing to people that have been forced to work, the long New York City hours and haven't had that availability. Right. So I think they're really just taking advantage of it.
Right. And you're back in New York City now, right?
We're back in New York City. My kids started school 2 weeks ago and they're in person. So.
And how's it like? Would you say your building feels much less occupied, or your block is like, you don't have to wait for bagels or coffee anymore? Like, what's the?
Yeah, it's definitely quieter. Delivery comes a lot quicker. But there's still a lot of people. It's still New York. They're still out there. Everyone's wearing their masks. And, there's still life.
Right.
It's just not the same.
Right. Which, that doesn't make the headlines necessarily when people are enjoying themselves on a nice fall day in New York City. Nothing newsworthy about that.
No, it's really great. They closed down several streets. So there's parts of East End Ave that are closed down and you can just walk in the street. Same for spots on Park Ave. Right. That they don't really talk about, but it's really nice. It's giving New Yorkers an opportunity to kind of walk the city in a different way, and you never get to play in the street in New York. So it's really fun.
Yeah. Walk right up to the mayor's house, right? Up East End.
Right there.
So what's getting more into real estate sales? What's working as far as like the listings that you have or that are coming on, or the rentals that are going on? Like what strategy is working to market those things or sell New York City real estate right now?
So the best thing for any listing, if people want to sell, is a really low aggressive price.
Right.
The people that are successful in selling right now have the most equity in what they've purchased and are able to list, below ask, because if you're listing for what you would like or what things we're selling at, it's just not going to move right now because there's so many options for people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a time-honored principle that usually it's people agree to it in concept more so than putting it into action. Like, a lot of sellers, they get it and they understand why we give that advice even in a stronger seller market. But it could be hard to let go, right? It's hard to let go and just know that the market is going to take the price to where it needs to go. So
well, I think the good thing is that a lot of people want to leave the city, and the people that need to sell are the people that don't have second homes and they need that money to purchase their new home. So it's actually helped sellers be a little bit more realistic of what they're going to get for their properties. Whereas before they had more time, they could grandfather it into the contract. And because everything outside the city is selling so quickly, they don't have that time and luxury that they used to have. They need to sell, they need the cash in hand, and they
Right.
need to put it down for another home.
Right. That all makes sense. What about buying? Who are you seeing buying in New York City? I know we're mostly talking about Manhattan, but I guess same would hold true in some parts of the outer boroughs. And where are people buying, and who, for the most part, are buying? Where are they coming from?
So a lot of trading is happening within the city. So people that are staying are trading up. They're getting that bigger space. They're getting that extra bathroom that they wanted and couldn't afford back then. They're purchasing new developments because sponsors are still paying, 2 or 3 years of taxes and maintenance for you just to unload their buildings. So they're getting a lot of incentives right now. And so the people that are going to stay are really taking advantage of it, as opposed to before when everything's high and you bought because you really wanted to. Now it's an opportunity for you to really have something great in the city that will bounce back and be worth it in the end.
The last time we spoke about a month ago, you were talking about professionals coming to the city, who are commuting from Long Island or Westchester, New Jersey, buying studios or one bedrooms in New York City. Is that trend continuing, or have you seen kind of a pause there as we get a sense of who's going to be where and where people are going to be living?
Yeah, it's still occurring, but not as rapidly as it was in the beginning. I think people were much more afraid to take public transportation and didn't feel safe. And I think people have really now come to learn how to live with COVID, learn how to take precautions, know what they need to do, and aren't, as worried as they were in the beginning.
Have you been on the subway at all?
Yeah, every day.
Really?
Every day. Same with the bus, same with, taxi cabs. I just carry hand sanitizer with me.
I have not been on public transportation yet.
Yeah. See, in New York,
Probably not the best barometer, though.
Why? I was taking the subway every day for 15 years.
Yeah. Well, if anything, you might argue it's the safest time because people are actually being conscious. I mean, germs have always been there, right? Maybe not as deadly or serious, but I think about how many times I've been on the subway or the Long Island Railroad and, a few days later, not feeling well. Could be the kids bringing something home from school. It could be one of the million or so fellow New Yorkers that I pass in close proximity to that day. So who knows? But anyway,
subways are pretty clean right now. You can actually see the.
Are they sterilizing every day still?
I don't know if it's every day, but they're still very clean, so it's not that bad at all.
Okay, it's good stuff. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time, and I guess by now, if people are still watching, they're hardcore audience members, so we appreciate you. And this is good. Let's do this again soon. We're looking forward to seeing an improved New York City every time we talk. Hopefully, we'll see it come back stronger and stronger. We know it will.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
For us.
All right. Talk to you soon.